Hi friends, my name is host Eric. I'm the host of Talking with Fantasy People. And tonight I want to discuss, as the topic of the live stream, why bad is interesting. I believe it was Tolstoy, might have been Dostoevsky, who said that all happy families are happy in the same way. They're boring. Whereas every unhappy family has its own unique kind of toxicity, you know. I think that for almost everybody, if they take psychology or something, hi Dark Sunshine, you're welcome. I don't know what you're thanking me for, but you're welcome anyway. Um, if you take just about anybody, they're going to tell you that they can't help but pay more attention to some bad actor who's doing something. Oh, right. No problem. We'll put it this way: if you're eavesdropping on your neighbors, they're probably having a fight. You know, they're probably not talking about the PTA meetings. It's not interesting. Without a certain amount of blood and guts, shit just isn't that interesting. You know. And the fact is that a certain amount of bad action, wickedness, deceptiveness, spite, or whatever, is up to a certain amount, up to a point, interesting, especially if it continues to evolve to some extent. Because if nothing else, we're all left with the same question when we encounter these sort of things. Which is, what the hell? Like, what's motivating this guy, you know? Now, I firmly understand and agree with, in principle, the notion that the best thing you can do with somebody who's demonstrably bad over and over again is to not give them the attention they clearly are seeking. An email exchange that I was CC'd on between various channel people basically saying things like, there's something off, you better be careful because this guy is screw loose or something like, you know, basically that kind of talk, you know. I don't care. I'm not one to, you never catch me making those kind of statements because it doesn't matter, right? It's like, it doesn't matter who he is or what's wrong with him or anything else. I have, to the extent that there's any moral high ground here to be had, which I'm not sure how much of a moral issue this is, but to the extent that there is moral high ground, I have it. All he has none, so what difference does it make? People have said the same thing about other people in the past. Queen's Gambit, Marty, well, no, it's not he that's interesting. It's his bad behavior that's interesting. And that's why I put in the title of this, why is bad interesting? bad people generally are not interesting. They're damaged, right? They've got a lot of anger and pain underneath their affect, probably, is my guess, you know. So it's not like bad people are interesting. They're just difficult mostly. But bad behavior is interesting because for those of us who aren't aren't actively deluding ourselves about things, certain things seem completely nuts. Like how you know when he comes around earlier with some sort of talking about me typing him again or something, I say, well, just come on in and let's do it right now. And of course, no. And it's like, okay. Now, surely even he knows, right, that when he comes on with his suggestion, I'm just gonna say, well, come do it right now, then, right? He's constantly shifting his justifications, explanations for things, and the weird thing is, it's like he doesn't seem to even get that when I point out, yeah, you can be dishonest and deceptive and lie to me and fool me once. That's not a win for him. You know, he doesn't even seem to get that. So I mean, I don't know what to make about that, right? But that's interesting because you see somebody who's, at least by all appearances, missing a couple of key things that make one fully human, really. Like another thing that kind of baffles me about him is he's accused me now multiple times of attacking him so much. But I never attacked him. I just told him I didn't like his shit, you know? And yet he doesn't seem to understand that there's a difference between those two things. Club. And of course, you know, he might well say, aha, see, you guys are talking about me again. Well, that's true. But it's because he came in earlier and just said a bunch of crazy nonsense and stuff, I guess. Yeah, there's a little bit of, wow, look at this, but it doesn't seem as though my words are registering with him, you know? Because he keeps like repeating the same kind of accusations, and I've already addressed those. I guess that's all part of his crazy shtick he's got going on. I mean, the thing is, I don't doubt that he does hate me. I would hate me if I were in his situation too. But the thing is, he put me in a position where I had no choice but to tell him the truth about what I thought about his stuff. I wasn't going to bring it up. Because he used it as an argument for something, so I had to respond to it, you know? But the main thing is, like, he left a comment earlier on that stream saying something like, accusing me of being dishonest and yeah. Would Eric agree as an Arlenian wipe of could become psycho yet? I don't think it's relevant in your situation right now to worry about. I don't think it's relevant either. I don't think he could really become psycho on me. Like, let's say he approached me or something. Right. And so, you know, when he's constantly changing his story and lying and whatever, and then saying I'm being dishonest about something, it's insane. But, it's really hard to know what's going on. I think that there's the one possibility that seems to potentially make the most sense is that he was very much hoping to find in me a common mind, you know, a common minded enthusiast of making stuff and music and whatever else, but he presumed too much. You know, he presumed too much right out the gate. He presumed from day one too much. You know, he'd around my channel for a long ass time before he even bothered to look at one of his videos. Yeah, well, I mean, I understand that, Hero Land, but I would point out that if you're gonna open a veterinarian store because you're a vet, you better not be a veteran. You won't know what you're doing. Yeah, T.I. Polar can be a bitch. He didn't answer your questions, he just insults you and repeats the same garbage. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what makes him interesting in some regard, too, right? How can anybody be so unable or unwilling to engage honestly about something? Like, I get that this is stressful for his ego or whatever, but to be that, like, kind of pathologically unable to be honest and address shit. Why would we believe his truth that he reveals later? If he's been lying to us all along, why should we think he's not continuing to lie? I mean, it's like those kind of basic things, like, if you not get how that how that shit plays at all, like, that if you tell people you've been lying to them for months and longer, that they probably aren't going to believe things you say anymore. And that's fine. I can pretty much guarantee you ENTP Club isn't making a dime. Melissa Talks might be making some money. because um, because she's got her whole like life coaching thing going on. But you know, that might be the case, but he should have realized that he's very much not smart enough to do that, you know? He's like, that's not going to work. I don't know. What do you think he's going to accomplish? He's not smart enough to get me. Why is bad interesting? Well, because it's hard for us to understand a lot of times. So if you got somebody who's doubling down on bad, on bad action, you know, like so Club ENTP, things didn't go the way he wanted them to one way or the other. And instead of cutting his losses, he doubled down on his wrongness, you know. Well, it's sometimes it can be almost shocking how an individual can be so adversarial towards making progress with language. just just a pure force of disinformation, deception, lies. It's like, wow. I don't know what his intent is. He definitely doesn't care about the truth. Well, I mean, he spent a lot of time lurking around the channel, my channel, watching videos, commenting on them, etc. But you know what's funny is that before I ever watched any of his videos, I did go look at his channel. I didn't click on any videos to watch. I looked at it, and I like looked at the playlist. Like I saw him with a bunch of like colors around him. And I'm like, oh, God, is that how I appear to other people? Fucking hell, it is how I appear, huh? Well, probably not really, because he did appear kind of stereotypically ENTP, I guess. But the stereotype for ENTP is based on not ENTPs, because there really aren't very many of us, as far as I can tell. I mean, it's not, but that's fine. He can say that. The thing is, like, one of the messages I'm trying to get across to him is a legitimate message is he has a choice, right? He can choose to be an incredibly shitty and dumb ENTP, or something else where he's got a fighting chance of being a good version of it, you know? Because obviously those arguments don't hold any water. That's not gonna it's not gonna convince anybody that he's an ENTP just because he likes chaos or something. He's not even creating chaos. He's at this point creating some conversation, or he resumed creating conversation about him today when he came by. Um, yeah, there are some parallels, you know, but at the end of the day, he's just, hi, Sean Ryan Barron. At the end of the day, he's just so disadvantaged in terms of positioning, right? Because he could resolve the matter anytime we offered him multiple opportunities to come get typed, but he insists on it being in his Context, yeah. I mean, has he ever shown his wife girlfriend? Oh, Michael Smith hates me for some reason too, so. Story of my life, you know. This kind of shit has happened to me throughout my entire life where somebody I don't even know, I discover, is absolutely livid at me, hates me, thinks I'm the worst thing ever. What's she like? What did she say? I'm curious. Somebody sent me a picture of him from Facebook, from one of his Facebook pictures that showed him without his wig on. He's balder than I am. Isn't that funny? Well, I mean, the thing is, we do stuff. Like I got a good amount of stuff done tonight before I started doing this live stream, and I'm feeling pretty good about it, which is partially why I did the live stream. But you know, there's doing stuff and then there's doing stuff, right? So, like, let me show you a couple of things here. So, like, okay. Image slideshow. Manual. Image files. Add files. Okay, so I mean, I don't have any problem with them being bald. You know, I'm bald too. But my point is, it's like even that's not real. You know, that's my point. Is that even that's not real? I wear a wig sometimes, but the difference, of course, is what I don't do is wear it all the time and pretend that's actually my hair. You know, kind of a big difference. Okay, so this is what I was working on earlier. I thought I needed to make some slides to go along with what's going to be a lot of, you know, written and verbally directed information. So I thought I'd make some slides to make it go a little bit more smoothly. Let me just get this slideshow here. Piao. 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 So, and so the point is that, yes, we do a lot of stuff, But look at the difference between the stuff that we do, right? So I started working on this class thing. Personality definition, the primary one is an individual's personality constitutes parts of the self that remain unchanged throughout the person's lifetime. But, these might be out of order. They are out of order, in fact. Oh, no, they don't. Wait, yeah. No, they're out of order. I said, like, yeah, these are all out of order, but whatever. I use some analogies to explain some terms, like, framework is like seeing a town from the air. You see it best, better than the people out down in the town, and yet you're not part of it. That's the way framework works about case stuff, right? A review of the status quo falls under observations and belongs in framework. And I got some pictures of like old school, like ancient world things like white, cold, dry, hot, fire, earth, air, water, phlegm, blood, bile, yellow bile. So, I wish I had these in the right order. Let me see if I can find the first one. This should be the first one. This guy has a personality. So does this lady. Actually, this should be the first one. Then this one. Then this one. Meta framework. Meta framework looks outside the town to include impacts that would otherwise be non-topical and shows you an error driving to a faraway town there. How this town links to a different town. Engines of personality theories. Psychoanalytic. It's an explanation of disorders, it's a framework for treatment, and it's about managing primitive versus civil impulses. But don't people grow and change? People do grow in wisdom, skills, status, etc. Circumstances change, and such does impact people, but people themselves don't really change. You could try to parse things out with some alternatives to precognitive functions like Enneagram. Or so here's what like the humanistic personality theory looks like. Parents either impede or promote actualization by their parenting. Personality is about being liberated from things that prevent you from being who and what you want to be. And when you have disorders, it's generally blame the parents, but somewhat society. Now, why are not all the slides in my slideshow showing? Okay. Let me remove this. 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 Alright, let's see how it goes now. So, why are we asking about personality at all? Which is another way of saying, how do we explain similarities and differences between people is really the question we're asking. And you see here, that question can be broken down into things like, why is that person so meh compared to most? Or why are those two people so similar? Or why does Joe consistently act like Joe even when it's ill-advised to act like Joe? How can I get Bob to be more meh? What's wrong with Betty? How could two brothers raised by the same parents be so different? These kind of questions are all underlying the question of what is personality and why do people have personalities and stuff, you know? Here's Maslow's thing. So Maslow basically says personality is a progression up a needs hierarchy, which doesn't really make any sense as a personality model at all. Psychoanalytic, we've done. Psychodynamic. Psychodynamic is a nature over nurture kind of approach. It's a behaviorist framework for explaining and it uses the idea of consciousness, conscious and unconscious desires, and the interplay between those as being the determining engine behind personality. Again, doesn't really make a lot of sense for explaining anything, right? Social cognitive personality theory, because there's generally considered to be 6, sometimes 7 existing schools of personality theory. Social cognitive is the same as humanistic, but more blame on society and less blame on parents. Blame / credit. So I use this city here to draw an analogy about framework, and this would be part of the framework. You might call it Framework Town or part of Framework Town. And it shows how you assign each one of these buildings one of these schools of personality theory: psychoanalytic, psychodynamic, humanistic, trait psychology, social cognitive, and then what you call your ancient world ones, right? So, referential typology is here in the middle because it represents a modality of explaining personality that subsumes all of these. In other words, that not only explains personality, but explains how and why all these other approaches got it at least somewhat wrong. So, if you look at these major theories that are the existing paradigms, you've got, I think this one lists 6. Psychoanalytic, Freud. The assumptions are that emotional disorders spring from unconscious dynamics such as unresolved sexual and childhood conflicts and fixation at various developmental stages. Defense mechanisms fend off anxiety. Personality consists of pleasure-seeking impulses, the id, a reality-oriented executive, the ego, and an internalized set of ideals, the superego. Okay, so if that's your personality, it's a relationship between your pleasure-seeking impulses, your longer-term wants, and your set of ideals. Well, I guess that could explain some similarities, but remember we listed some questions earlier, right? And if you want to check in these things and see if these are good personality theories, one way to check is to go back to here and look at these questions. Where are the questions? Here. Why is that person so mad compared to most? Why are those two people so similar? Why does Joe consistently act like Joe even when it's ill-advised for him to do so? How can I get Bob to be more meow? What's wrong with Betty? How could two brothers raised by the same parents be so different? So if we look then again at these options we have, and here's trait personality. People score high or low on a set of core attributes. Test measure against an average. It's descriptive only, not explanatory. Here's an old school one for humors: sanguine, choleric, melancholic, phlegmatic. And temperaments are novelty seeking, reward dependence, harm avoidance, and persistence. You see here they've included a neurotransmitter that goes with each of them. But of course, it seems, once again, you've got an attempt to divide commonality, to observe commonalities among people and divide into groups, but with no explanation as to why or what's the mechanism of commonality. What are we actually measuring here? We know people don't have attributes, right? So what are we actually measuring? It's hard to measure anybody's egocentrism. You can note multiple occasions of it, perhaps. It's hard to measure someone's talkativeness unless they're either being observed without being known they're being observed, or unless they're agreeing to participate in it. It's hard to measure someone's calmness or reasonableness or thoughtfulness or cautiousness or introvertedness or seriousness because those things aren't actually attributes. However, it is conceivable to say that because a person behaves like meow, just over time, persistently, consistently, that those qualities represent habits of being for them, you know? And the way that they broke this down in the olden days was you have your weak emotions at the bottom. That's your phlegmatic and sanguine types. And you've got your strong emotions at the top. That's your melancholic and choleric. And so the mechanism is weak emotion, changeable temperament means you're sanguine. Weak emotion, unchangeable temperament means you're phlegmatic. Strong emotion, unchangeable temperament, melancholic. Strong emotion, choleric is changeable temperament. But the thing is, of course, everybody's temperament is changeable, right? And everybody experiences both weak and strong emotions. So if you're going to take these things as attributes, then you're going to have to be measuring somebody's self-concept alone, or measuring them in an experiment that I'm very happy to hear you say that, Dark Sunshine. Or very happy, or making an experiment to like where the person's not aware they're being observed, and then you're still going to be measuring instances of it over time, and those, of course, are going to be linked to affect because only affect is going to be expressed externally, you know. So if you look at these things here, none of them really answer all those questions we want answered. Psychodynamic, psychoanalytic, it's like psychodynamic says unconscious and conscious minds interact. The dynamic interplay of conscious and unconscious motives and conflicts shape our personality. Okay, but, I mean, how are they defining conscious and unconscious? People don't have two minds, really. That's a metaphor. And not everybody's impacted by childhood mechanisms. The alternative perspective is that if you are impacted by childhood experiences, then it's traumatic. Something traumatic. If in the absence of that, you're basically not. You've gotten everything you need. In other words, it doesn't really matter how it happens as long as the baby plant gets enough sunshine, water, fertilizer, meow, then they're fine. But if they don't, then they're not. And they're going to be stunted and weird for the rest of their life. So that's the alternative to psychodynamic, right? Regardless, it's not an explanation of personality. It's an explanation of disorder. Humanistic. Rather than examining the struggles of sick people, it's better to focus on the ways people strive for self-realization. So this is really an affirmation being made at psychology, right? And its perspective on personality is basically the personality itself is irrelevant, because regardless of whatever personality you have, you're gonna go through the same potential growth arc, which is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, basically. Then we get down to trait personality, which is the status quo norm for most psychology frames right now, which is Big Five. And it says scientific study of traits has isolated important dimensions of personality, such as Big Five traits: conscientiousness, agreeableness, neuroticism, openness, extroversion. Social cognitive is basically the same thing as humanistic, except it blames it on society and societal norms more than parenting style, which it makes it even less correct. Let me get up this other slide. For some reason, they're not all playing like they're supposed to. So let me get rid of some of these ones. Let's see if that's got rid of enough of them. Okay, so some of these. Alright, so this is psychoanalytic summed up, psychodynamic summed up, behaviorism basically, social cognitive, humanistic except more societal. It's like the most stupid woke kind, basically. Hi, I'm stupid woke. My name's Eric. Would you like to get stupid woke with me? Let's do it. There's absolutely nothing sexier than being stupid woke. It's really annoying the way it does. You've gotta put just a few pictures per slideshow, or else it doesn't do them all. Okay. So this part here is. This is the last slide I really wanted to show you, was pointing out that, yes, typology has adjectives too. Alright, for typology, we have adjectives too, except instead of saying the ones that they say in Big Five, we say concise or wordy. Concise versus wordy, effective versus unimpactful, solvent versus inefficient, disinterested versus biased, reliable versus flaky, passionate versus ambivalent, graceful versus awkward, or creative versus unoriginal. The thing is, typology acknowledges that there's two ends to the pole, right? You don't. It's like in Big Five, if you score high on extroversion, that doesn't somehow mean that you score low on introversion. Isn't that kind of weird? So, because there's a lack of poles, it's their adjectives are just in and of themselves not very meaningful. But what do I mean by parts of people? If they're defining personality as parts of people that stay the same throughout their whole lives, well, the answer is mostly would mean a person's affect. The Big Five calls these parts attributes and measures personality in units of openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeability, and eroticism. And then, how do we explain similarities and differences between people is basically the question of psychology. But it's also the question of personality when you exclude abnormal psych from it. Why are we asking about personality at all? Well, that was the one that I said those various questions. That slide's not here anymore. But anyway, I said those various questions. I gotta put them in order, obviously, before I make that video. And I've got a little bit more to do before it's good to go. I've also got the terms for the first class, which is in a regular Word document. And then I want to just talk about how what each of these things is. Personality explanation, or explanation for something that's not personality, is it's a projection of a subject, object, and agent. In other words, it requires those three elements to be a framed thing. I'll get to your question in a second, Sean Ryan. I think it's an interesting one. So, for example, the subject in Big Five is the person being tested, is the person taking the test. The object is their scores. And the agent is this abstract scientist metaphor that, that passes judgment on how well you did, what your personality is like, or whatever. Well, you scored high on this personality attribute and low on this one. So that's the agent that's implied there. There's a teleology then that's implied as well, which is to say this thing is purposed to provide you a means of having a more sciency or accurate description of your personality than you would otherwise just by talking about random attributes you might have. And with like the humanistic stuff, the agent there is some unspoken metaphorical agent that says, "Oh, congratulations, you made it to the top of the triangle. Now you can be actualized." And then the implied teleology of it, the purpose of a human being is to actualize under that frame of reference. That's the purpose of what humans exist for. Basically the same thing with social cognitive, except they want to put a lot of weight on societal norms that are disenfranchising. It's more politicized than most other schools of psychological thought, And, the old ones like psychoanalytic is basically a three-prong mechanism: id, ego, superego, right? But, okay, so what exactly are they measuring? They're measuring primitive drives or desires and civilized drives and desires, and what makes some more primitive and some more civilized, and it's just it's a mess, and in terms of all of its metaphor, right? Psychodynamic just seems like, oh, don't worry, we can shape people into the things we want them to be. We just need to control their environment more. It's like pre-Skinner behaviorism, So what's the implied frame of reference there? Well, I mean, as far as subject, subject is the scientist, the object are the people, and the agent is presumably this norm that all the scientists equally uphold about what's good for a person to become, right? So the point is, cognitive functions also has this agent, subject, object thing, but it's got to correct. The agent is me, or you, or you, or you, or you. And the subject might be me, or you, or some identitarian object, that is, say, media or something like that. Or physical world object even. But that's, of course, going to be dependent. So in other words, typology acknowledges that the thing that's never even explicitly stated, the thing that's just a reified metaphor in all these other models, is the only thing that stays the same in reality. The agent, you. You stay the same. Sometimes you're evaluating yourself, in which case you're both the agent, the subject, and the object, right? You're the agent who knows what your evaluatory process that the subject is doing, what the status results of that are, and that's the object. So it's like the only thing that really stays the same is the agent. Because no matter what you do, no matter how you do it, no matter why you do it, anything else, you can't help but to some extent observe. And that brings us then into this idea of attention. Because what's lacking in those other things, except for trait psychology, is something being measured. And even in trait psychology, what's more importantly being lacked is a unit in which it can be measured. So none of those current psychology theories or personality theories provide any units by which anything can be measured. Attention can be measured in time, total number of minutes in a day, right? Or a ratio of time, number of minutes per hour. So we're talking about something actually real now, right? We're no longer just in the world of metaphor. We can actually measure it. It doesn't require any discretion. Now, Dario Nardi went and put the cart way before the horse by thinking, hey, we can measure brain waves and link them to these cognitive functions. We might be able to do that, but we'd have to have a clear understanding of what represents a cognitive function and doesn't, and there's not adequate consensus about it. And the only way that he'd ever get a chance to get it right is if he had me type all the fucking people. Anyway, the point is, because this is measurable in units, and because it represents a manner of attention, and because the brain does appear to behave differently when paying attention in different ways, it should in fact eventually be testable with a machine of some kind. Right. It all sort of falls apart. I do believe that eventually type will be able to be tested by a machine, but it's not. We're not there yet, and the reason we're not there yet is because defensible typology hasn't built the facilities necessary for everybody to do that kind of work in. But I'm doing it right now, where I'm working on it, as you see. And I show you guys because it helps keep me on point, helps to keep me on task and make sure I'm getting shit done like I'm supposed to. And I do plan to have that first class finished and up by today or tomorrow. I don't want to rush it, but I also don't want to get bogged down, Cognitive discrimination is the dilemma of the coming millennium. I mean, you could put it a more positive way by saying self-acceptance is the challenge of the new millennium. When people who are TI polar understand that their natural way of being limits them such that they probably shouldn't vote, and are fine with that because they don't feel the need to be anybody other than themselves, then the world will resolve itself just fine. When everybody knows what type they are and understands adequately what it means, all but the least mapping types will see the world differently, and there will be a growing, hopefully, understanding that it is the case that humans kind of fit into classes. It's just in every other incarnation of it ever throughout human history, it's always been completely fucked up and wrong. They did it by family lineage, they did it by wealth, they did it by, the thing is, the different classes of people comprise the different classes of skill sets, you know? And it doesn't have to be, there doesn't have to be an implicit inequality to it. The inequality part stems from society's over prioritizing in talk, but not in reality, things like intelligence and creativity. Well, I've been thinking about it more since you asked that question earlier today about the prime directive and stuff. If you wanted to make it fun, it would be a game in which your character has their attentional stack, and a lot of the things you try to do, like, you know, would you like to begin your exercise regimen plan for the next 2 months to get up every day to improve your physical health? Yes. You go one day, you skip the second day, you tell yourself you're going to go the third day, and then you just stay home and smoke pot all day. You don't know yourself very well. You know. Basically, it would be like this, Shuffler. The characters would encounter various situations that are best suited for certain function pairings, and worse suited for certain function pairings. And, you know, it's basically like they would be more or less able to work around their blind spots. I mean, if you were just going to simulate it not as a game at all, what you'd expect to have happen is you program into each of these digital characters the cognitive function stack, which allows them to access certain kinds of information more readily than others, and then act upon it according to their absolute values, and in upholding the prime directive. So if you think about surprises in the world, in no way, shape, or form does any kind of creature, except humans a little bit, like surprises. Surprises are always bad. It's just how it works. If you get lucky and you have an unexpected windfall of sorts, even that's not particularly... It's as likely to make you... It'll make you happy, but... I guess it doesn't fall entirely outside of your range of expectations, right? It's not like you were expecting to find that $100 bill on the ground today, but it's not like reaching down to pick up a $100 bill and it coming alive and biting your hand off. That would be totally outside of the realm of expectations and would be extremely traumatic. But the point is, the cognitive function configurations are ways that people cope with the fact that expectations and realities don't very much align. You could say that ENTPs cope with it by ignoring those realities that don't align with the story they're telling, and trying to tell the story so compellingly that reality changes to become the story they're telling. And the only reason they can be capable of this is because they have a very shitty relationship with caring about things, and additionally, they countervalue usefulness, and additionally, they ignore their experience most of the time because they're so busy telling their stories, right? So it's like what I'm trying to do to close the gap between maps and expectations is ignore reality when it doesn't meet my expectations and try to tell a story so that it sounds like it does meet my expectations. And when I can't do that, then I have to create new stories that hopefully can are like patches, right? They're like patches to explain things or whatever. But but the point is, regardless, I'm trying to make it such that my expectations and realities align. So, for example, I don't have a lot of huge expectations for this YouTube channel or Mindy's Club, mostly because I try not to get my hopes up, quote unquote, because everybody seems to understand and agree that it's better to expect nothing and get nothing than it is to expect something and get nothing by a massive margin. You see the Prime Directive being upheld in the most unhealthy fashion by BPD people, right? BPD people, they expect to be betrayed. They expect you to leave them. And when you turn out to be one of the people like me who's stubborn and thinks you can fix the person and you can just love the brokenness out of them, well, then the BPD person will eventually shit on you so much that their expectations are upheld and you leave them. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say I expect nothing at all. I just expect nothing from YouTube necessarily. Like, I don't expect to blow up. I would like that to happen, but if I expected it, like I expect that if I don't quite decide to go to sleep this morning, which I probably will, but if I don't, that when I go over to my brand new bottle of Adderall and I open it, there will be plenty of pills in there, right? And so my thoughts of when to go to sleep, whether to go to sleep, all that kind of stuff is impacted somewhat by that. If I were to walk over there and there weren't any pills in there, it would be absolutely, I don't know what would happen. I would just be like, what the fuck? How could this possibly be? Where are all my pills? What am I going to do? Oh no, 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 no. On the other hand, when I'm at the end of the cycle and I've been keeping track and I realize, okay, I've got like 3 left. I think I'll do 2 today, 1 tomorrow to close it out. Maybe 1 today, 2 tomorrow. And then when I do run out, it's not a big deal at all. In fact, it's perfectly fine. In fact, it's what I want usually at that point because I'm so tired from being thwacked out for too long. So the point is, I do expect things from YouTube. I expect to be able to live stream and have people, at least a few people, show up and talk to me. How does an INTJ close the gap between reality and expectations? I mean, what you'd have to do is you'd have to have, as far as simulation goes, you need to have every individual be operant on four fields: internal physical, internal metaphysical, external metaphysical, and have their attentional stacks dictate, like, basically the percentage of the time and the extent to which they can effectively utilize putting information on that field, putting information on this field, getting information from that field, getting information from that field, getting information from this field, getting information from this field, putting information here, putting information here, receiving information from that field, receiving from that field, receiving from that field, receiving from that field. There's an implied someone who's receiving things on internal fields, right? Like, so if I receive a memory of that time I that time I watched Tracy Flack's house burn down, I receive it in my mind. Well, my SI, the SI part of my internal metaphysical field, is both the receiver and the thrower, kind of, you know? With NI, it's easier to understand because NI observes something external and receives knowledge unbidden about it, but at least the trigger is external, right? I guess the trigger here is external too. I don't know. You obviously have to be engaged in something in order to know something about anything, regardless. But so the point is that the stacks would link to their capacity to take those different kinds of things, interfacing, deliberating, which is getting, putting, or receiving. Their stack defines their limitations in that. There's this thing I have, this document called Cognitive Function Rummy, or something, or Typology Rummy. I never finished the document, but that explains the mechanics. That's like a way you can do mechanics of cognitive functions as a card game, which might be a good starting spot as well. After 35 years of existence, I have now assumed the best I will achieve is either failure or mediocre success for everything in anything. Yeah, well, at some point, even though it seems almost impossible, you kind of got to have your own metric of success. So it's like, well, I don't know, Jake Forrest. I was very successful at something that I was doing. I was a very successful debate coach, which is a zero sum sport, right? So for me to win, everybody else had to lose, and that happened a lot. So I don't have that experience, and yet I somehow identify with what you're saying. So it's not. It doesn't really link, I don't think, to whether or not you can achieve at the top level, you know? But it's also, it doesn't mean anything, really. Like, I've had multiple kids be national champion debaters, and all it meant was that I was working my ass off and directing all of my attention to making them win. That's the only thing it meant. I mean, you could say it meant as well, Eric, that you were more talented than the other coaches or something like that, because hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. But when talent does work hard, talent beats just hard work, right? So you could make that claim, but and I do make that claim that even among debate coaches who are an unusually smart population of people, I am unusually clever in my coaching and in my case making. But even so, it doesn't really mean anything, right? Like, this means a lot more, what we're talking about now, typology and stuff, because it's not a sport, it's actual life. And it actually matters, and yeah. What does talent mean? Well, Sir Thomas, I think we all know what talent means when it comes to, say, basketball. It means good eye-hand coordination, being able to move quickly and fast. So, in other words, quick reflex action with your muscles, but also have a high top speed, being able to retain your balance well while dribbling, having good eye-to-hand coordination when shooting the ball, being able to jump high, maybe being able to slam dunk, being a good team player naturally, let's say, having good court vision, let's say, seeing who's open, who's not naturally. All these things comprise talent in basketball, right, Sir Thomas? So, in that regard, we would say talent is an umbrella term that includes a multiplicity of skills that are implicit to an individual and not a product of their experience. That, when applied in a specific forum, give them an advantage over others. So, is that a good enough definition? Jake Forrest said, Boba Fett says, there's already pills out there for people with psychosis disorder to become a type. Jake Forrest says, I started off meh in life. No focused TI training when I was a kid. I think good TI training is important when you're an EHP. I did. I heard that as caress at first. I did careers which didn't really value any science or TI consulting. Yeah, that's too me after you. I'm sorry to hear that. The main thing is to be close to fully aware of who you are and maneuver your way with that full understanding towards success in your field. You can be blind to who you are. But if he's not in a field that he wants to be successful at because it's not going to make him happy, then he needs to be in a different field. Have to know what to let go of in order to achieve your personal heights. I always confuse talent with skill. Well, like, you want to know the difference between talent and skill? Look at young baseball pitchers in the minor leagues. They might have great talent, the great stuff, right? The ball moves a lot when they throw it, and they throw it very hard, so it goes very fast, and it's very hard to hit. But maybe they're wild, Maybe they only have 2 pitches. So in other words, they've got talent, but they don't really have any skill yet. They're greenhorns, as you might say. But the talent comes from the fact that they're meow. Because the talent comes from the fact that they have naturally what they call in baseball live arms. Have you ever heard that expression before? That pitcher has a live arm. It means the ball moves a lot when they throw it. And I remember one time I was so disappointed, okay, because I've watched Major League Baseball for a long time, but I went to this carnival, and I was probably like 19 or 20, and and they had a speed gun, and you got to throw it 3 times. You threw it a second time, and you threw it the third time. And before you threw it the third time, you guessed how fast it was going to be. And if you guessed it right, you got a prize. So, I'm familiar from watching baseball with major league pitch speeds. And I know no problem. I know I'm going to be a little bit slower than the major league speeds. I know this. I figure, I probably won't get above 70, 80, 75, 85, 80 or something like that would be my top speed probably. So I wind up, full pitching motion. I hurl the ball past the speed gun, 47 miles an hour. I'm like, okay, what the fuck is this? 47? So I'm like, okay, this time I'm really gonna fucking throw it. I'm gonna really throw it. 47 miles an hour again. And the guy's like, okay, now what do you guess your third one's going to be? I said, 47? But I didn't want to get 47 again. I didn't care about the prize at this point. I couldn't believe I was only throwing the ball 47 miles an hour. That wouldn't even make it in high school baseball, I don't think. Or middle school baseball probably wouldn't even make it. So, I said, okay, this time I'm going to fucking really throw this thing. I threw as hard as I could. 47 miles an hour. And I won a prize because I got 47 miles an hour, but, I really walked away from there saying, you know what? I guess I'm not good at throwing a baseball, or being a pitcher. I always imagined myself to be a good pitcher. I just never done it before, but I'm sure I'm an excellent pitcher. When I'd watch baseball, I was quite confident in my pitching ability when I watched baseball. Oh, I could do that. I wasn't so confident about my hitting ability. But I could just tell from watching pitchers, I could do that. No problem. That looks easy. You get to wind up, and pow, you throw the ball, and it's just like, wowza, Steve Reich. But the truth is, even at like my peak age for athleticism, when they put pitchers in the minor leagues or whatever, 19, 20 years old, I still only threw it at 47 miles per hour. It's a sad story I'm telling you, isn't it? I'm sorry if I'm making everybody cry. You guys gonna be okay? Legends fall. Just don't rub in it, okay? It was a dark day. It was a dark day at the carnival when I realized I could only throw a hard ball, 47 miles an hour. Because I was sure it was going to go at least that, At least 66, 67. I was thinking, okay, am I going to be able to hit 80 or not? I wasn't even close. 47? I wasn't even driving the speed limit. How did I get such a slow arm to throw with? Like, I've got long legs, long arms. Like, I should have plenty of, I don't know, body to throw around or something. Like, length to throw it at the thing. I don't know what you'd call that. Torque, leverage, something like that. But still, only 47 miles per hour. Now, granted, That was before I worked a very physical job, which got me stronger than I'd been prior. When I worked for LA County with the profoundly retarded, most of them were non-ambulatory, so what that means is they don't walk with their legs. You've got to pick them up and put them on the table and have their diaper changed. And they're adults, you know. And I spent a couple of years playing I'll Be Your Lifter. I'll be your lifter. I'll lift up your kids and put them on there. Then when you're done, you call me back. I'll lift them back into their chair. That way I can get out of my room and walk around and not have to do much of anything except lift up these kids. That's not that bad. Why is everyone so scared of lifting? It's not that big a deal. Where are my cigarettes? What do you do with them? Men like gods, you stole them. I know you and your ways. You're a cigarette stealing, fastball hurling STP of a motherfo. And you stole my cigarettes. It's clear, it's obvious. Stop trying to hide it. Where did you put them? Why did you steal my cigarettes? Why? Why would you do such a horrible thing to me? You hid them underneath my pillows. That's what you did with them. God. Let's see here. Now that I found them, I'm safe again. Sir Thomas says, what drives you in life? Or are you just driven by human primate desires? What drives me in life? So, when you say what drives me in life, do you mean what makes me feel as though I'm being driven like cattle? Do you mean what non-human chauffeurs me around? Drive seems too grandiose a word because I don't think I'm motivated particularly in any given moment by larger narratives, even if I could articulate them, right? So I'm moving in a general direction. I don't consider myself driven. Well, maybe I am. I mean, I feel more driven right now than I have in a long time. Like, I feel like I've got a purpose and a goal. I haven't felt that way in a long time. I mean, there's a lot of things that make me have vitality, excitement about life. Lots. I find many, many things delightful. I find many, many things hilarious and fun and wonderful. But and how much I am in that place where I'm finding things delightful and hilarious and wonderful is very much a matter of mood. But right now, what I'm excited about is putting together this class and Mindy's Club. Those are the two things that I'm excited about right now, more than anything else. Those were FI questions, huh? I missed that. I didn't notice that. I mean, I think hockey's a pretty great sport to watch. I was really shocked when Rachel and it was during COVID, I guess, I don't know. But the New York Islanders were advancing rather deep into the playoffs, the hockey playoffs, and we had begun watching it at the very beginning of the playoffs. It was very exciting. It was some of the more exciting sports I've watched in a while because, for one thing, hockey, like soccer, doesn't have that many commercial breaks. It's got more than soccer, but they don't interrupt the flow of play that much. For another thing, it's so fast moving, and there's a lot of there's a lot of that, watching hockey. I wouldn't mind going to an actual hockey game in person. That'd be kind of fun. I've never been to one. I've been to football games. I've been to basketball games. I've been to Laker games. I've been to USC football games. I've been to a Raiders game. I've been to lots and lots of Dodgers games. I've been to Angels games. I've been to lots of USC football games. I've been to almost every stadium in the Pac. Well, I think I had been to. I think I had gone to all of the stadiums in the old Pac-10, but that was before they added Utah and Colorado to the Pac-12. I saw a lot of college football. My parents were season ticket holders for USC football, but also they like to go to the away games too. How crazy my dad was about it for some stretch of time. He went to the home games and the away games. Pretty crazy, huh? So, what drives me in life? I mean, there are a lot of things I like a lot and care a lot about, right? So, in other words, within my book of self that I'm writing, I have plenty of chapters devoted towards my political notions, some of which are political writings. If you wanted to look at like my presidential platform, but most of which are probably articulated here or have been articulated in debate cases or stuff that I made over the years. So there's that category of thing. I consider myself sometimes like a comedian. Sometimes I feel hilarious. Sometimes I think I am. But when I'm not feeling silly, then I'm not a comedian. And then I consider myself a musician when I feel like playing music. But if I don't feel like playing music, then I still might want to listen to my own music, depending on my mood. I do listen to some of it, but not all of it, because, not all of it's good. I don't think of myself very much as a video maker of all things, though. I kind of think of myself now as a video maker because of the shorts, because of Mindy's Club and stuff, but I never really thought of myself as a video maker. I've always just thought of it as video is the medium by which I'm saying my words. But I have made some videos too. But like visual arts, I don't consider that really to be part of me as just something like I get involved in necessarily because I have to include stuff for other things or whatever. Am I failing to answer this question still? I don't. Is that even a question? What drives you? Does it? I mean, is that a question that makes sense? Because do people have to be driven by something? Is it good to be driven? And then I think of this typology stuff as this other thing I got going on, which is this weird kind of like church almost. Because I'm such a I'm such a believer in it. You know, I never really. I used to say or used to think um, that belief itself was a problem. You should either affirm the more likely of a set of potentialities with and do so explicitly as such, or you should know for sure, but there shouldn't be any belief. Anything that you don't know for sure that you're affirming, you should at least in your own head be going, well, of course, this is just a conditional affirmation. But I now understand belief a little differently. So, like, I believe in typology. It's a weird thing to say, but I genuinely believe what I'm saying about it. Like, that it's the metaframe, that it solves the world's problems. These ridiculous things that I say about it, I actually believe them. Isn't that weird? It's just I've been talking about it for such a long time, and you know you keep expecting at some point someone to come up and go, um, "You idiot! That's just the wind blowing in. That's not a ghost." Or something equivalent, you know, like, oh, Eric, you missed this obvious thing. See how full of shit you are now? And for it to be somewhat convincing or something. You keep expecting it to happen, right? But then you encounter argument after argument after argument after argument after argument after argument. Many of them, this, reiteration of the same warmed over trash, but regardless, some of them good or better. And you realize, oh shit. I didn't not want to jump ahead and trust my introverted intuition a whole bunch, but there's no denying at this point what it's telling me is this thing's brighter than rain, you know? Drives, my drives. earlier tonight, I experienced something known as a mating drive. And in pursuit of said mating drive, and upholding the demands of said mating drive, I attained copulation with my significant other, Rachel, until my manly lust was satiated. Thanks, Shuffler C4. I appreciate it. But yeah, because when I first discovered cognitive functions, I was just like anybody going, like you probably. You go, oh, ssuartscire, this seems like it's got it right. But then you start having a bunch of questions, and it starts devolving into ever more undifferentiated dichotomies, And it's just like, okay, what are you doing? Why are you renumbering things? And it just there's some things about it that just aren't right, It doesn't explain things properly. But you get the sense that there's definitely something here that's right. Like something's going on here with this personality type shit because it just there's sometimes when it just even an NI ignoring person like me, the profoundly explanatory power of it just smacks you in the face like a cast iron pan. Like, I was kind of reading that guy I typed today as INFJ, and I asked him a TE question. What's the proper best number of steps to break serving somebody dinner at the table into? And he quite confidently said 3. I was like, maybe he's not TE polar. I guess he's not. Let's just double check. And what are they? And then he proceeded to name 5 steps. But okay, thank you for showing us what TE polar looks like. Oh wait, you meant you wanted to actually you wanted the number to match. You want the number I said to match the number of steps I gave you somehow? It's like, okay. That's TE polar. TE polar is funny. Yeah, well, uh, no, I didn't find it out. I don't care anymore. I think it was my mom. But those kind of things are funny, right? It's like you ask somebody, "What's the number of steps? Best number of steps to break serving somebody dinner into?" They say 3. And you say, "Okay, and what are they?" And well, first you get the food out of the oven, I suppose, and get some of it onto the plate, and add a garnish. You'd make sure you get a dish towel so that it gets the place hot, and carry it into the dining room and set it down in front of the person. And how many steps was that? What? It wasn't 3 steps. It was at least 5. Antipolar can be kind of remarkable too, but it doesn't have such a nice, tidy. Doesn't have such nice, tidy examples like that, you know. But my dad's NI puller can sometimes be just baffling. Absolutely baffling. Well, I think I'm gonna play a quick tune or two and then call it a stream. How long have I been streaming for anyway? 1 hour and 40 minutes. That's not that long. I'm tired. It's late. I did get a good amount of work done tonight, so I feel okay about that. Now here's the thing. I am so sick and tired. It's like Mindy's Club is like taunting me. I shit you not. Like the ones that I want to be most successful or think are gonna be successful don't even get a chance on the shorts feed. It seems like. And the ones that are successful are the things I just throw together at the supermarket real quick or whatever, you know? I need to publish my music officially because that's part of the issue here, I think. YouTube does not know, or does not want to deal with someone's music that's not published with one of their partners, whatever you call it. Which could be CD, baby. I need to do that. I've been telling myself this for a long time. I definitely need to do that. I'm talking specifically about the shorts feed show media, which has its own mechanics to it. tune. Once a long time ago, people needed to perceive, people needed sensing as well. Intuition preceded knowledge by a fraction of a second, at least. Slabs were planted below. Time was moving so slow. All there was, attention-wise, was a couple of coral flies back at the beginning of time. Attention came into being, that's why we have now the attentional stacks we do. You have got to have a way act and a way to decide the things you want to take action upon. But some things just won't sit there still. You've got to include their own will, and they're the dynamic and squirmy bunch. So you need knowledge to prevent you from having to deliberate some in circumstances that require immediate response. Not every kind of event you can go to in life will adapt to you, allow you to plan ahead and avoid surprise. No, so our lives, and so our lives are spent avoiding getting spent on chasing after dreams unrealistically, it seems to us, perhaps with very good cause. I'm a perceiving fellow. I like to perceive. I don't need your judgment. Please don't judge me. I'll try not to judge you, at least not when you can't hear me, unless you want to come around and listen here. And there's not much I can prevent you from hearing if I'm talking shit. Oh well, I guess you'll survive. What is my drive? Why do I do the things that I do? Whatever I do, is it because of all of these lives that I lived before? When the bees were in hives, I was a queen bee. I was giving birth to little baby bees under the earth, inside my hive. And when they dive into a pool of honey, and I say, why am I alive? It's a great cosmological question at which we all arrive. Do I have a purpose, teleologically? And if so, who's the purpose for? Purpose for? Purpose giving purpose to me? This is a very, very, very long song, just E and G and going right along. We'll go up to A and maybe up to B flat as well. What the hell did we all go? Then back down to A before resolving to E and saying hey, hey, hey. Resolve back to E and saying hey, hey, hey. Resolve back to D and saying no, no way. Stupid guitar. I'm sorry I yelled at you, but you feel like death in my hands. It may have been Camelot for Jack and Jacqueline, but on the Che Guevara highway, filling up with gasoline, Fidel Castro's brother spies a rich lady who's crying over luxuries, disappointments, so he goes over and he's trying. In the Soviet Union, a scientist is blinded by the resumption of nuclear testing, and he is reminded by Dr. Robert Oppenheimer's optimism fell. The first hurdle. In the cheese pavilion, and the only noise I hear is the sound of someone stacking chairs and mopping up spilled beer, and someone asking questions and basking in the line of the 15 filled minutes with the fanzine writer. One leap forwards, two leaps back, well, while I take care of a rat waiting for the great leap forwards. That's a Billy Bragg song by a man named Billy Bragg. Gerald has a thought. Gerald has a thought. Gerald has a plot. Gerald has a spot. Look at the margarine tater tots. He's got a good idea for a name changing business. Thinking now about what to call Christmas when he hires that firm to change his name. Gerald always thought there'd be chance enough to return to the work after up. He'd get back to it eventually, but his visions piled up and his plans would interrupt all the work that started off so hopefully. And now his mind is back on his business, thinking of changing fact list to list list, so how all the people will shout his name. And Gerald knows he understands ever more clearly now. He won't provide explanation regarding the what or the how. He'll see you and know you from inside your heart. Exciting, delighting, Gerald plays his part. But Gerald still knew there's too much to do, and he had dropped time in the underview. Too much to but, so where now and what? Too much time spent nitpicking the skew with you. Gerald has a thought. Gerald has a lot. Gerald has a plot to get the margarine's tasty spots. He's got a good idea for a name changing business. Thinking how about what to call Christmas when they hire his firm to change that name. Gerald has a thought. Why do you bother, Eric? Why do you bother if you're just going to fail? Only one song that can save the day for me right now. Nice and slow, too. Wonderful, wonderful kitty, having wonderful times. Always cleaning yourself, making sure you've got clean lines. Wonderful, wonderful kitty, such a fabulous soft friend. And now it's wonderful kitty petting time again. Just let me pet you, don't walk away. It's petting time too. Wonderful, wonderful kitty, having wonderful times. Always cleaning yourself, making sure you got clean lines. But your wonderful kitty is a fabulousness I've never encountered before. And I know that I want to pet my kitty some more. Just let me pet you, don't walk away. It's petting time, hooray. That made me happy. That was a good song. That made me feel good to play that song. Some songs are better than others. That's what they say down at the railroad yard. Some folk call me a rambling man, 'cause I do a lot of thumbing and a kicking games, but it won't do names so good to call me names. My daddy was a Willie Woodrow, I wasn't born or raised in no ghetto, just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. I don't want no handout living, don't want any part of anything they give, and I'm proud and wild and got a song to sing. do my thing. I'm gonna find me a wealthy woman in a line of work. Don't take no diploma, cause I ain't got much to lose but lots to gain. You might call me a good type fella, but I ain't no black and I ain't no yellow. Just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. I don't want no handout, baby, no want any party, anything they giving. I'm proud and white and got a song to sing. Well, I said a few things and I'll admit it. If you wanna get ahead, you gotta hump and get it. Just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. Small town boy, been around a little. I like guitar and I like the fiddle. That's the sort of soul to expand my flame. Blue-eyed Billy, feared and ready. I got to work just to be somebody. I'm a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. I don't want no handout, baby, no want any party, anything they giving. I'm proud and white and got a song to sing. Well, I said a few things and I'll admit it. If you wanna get ahead, you gotta hump and get it. Just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. Well, I said a few things and I'll admit it. If you wanna get ahead, you gotta hump and get it. Just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. Well, I said a few things and I'll admit it. If you wanna get ahead, you gotta hump and get it. Just a white boy looking for a place to do my thing. And what thing is that? I got my ding-a-ling. And do my ding-a-ling thing. That's what I'm gonna do. That song really rolls along, you know? She really rolls along. It's comfy to play. I also like to play, there are a couple other songs that I really like to play that are covers that are fun, snappy tunes. Like, I like to play For the Longest Time by Billy Joel. Also, It's Only Rock and Roll to Me by Billy Joel. Yeah, the guitar. I've been playing the guitar for a long time now. Seems like. One of these days I'm going to be a shredder. I'm going to be like. Everyone's going to go, wow, look at him shred. That's why I go to a rock show. To see a guitarist really shred. You know what I'm saying, dogs? Probably you do. Possibly you don't. We'll never know, and that's my boat. Hooray! Hooray for boats. Hooray! Hooray for boats. That's my rap. Hooray for boats. If you like boats, hooray for you. You and boats, me hooray, we hooray the boats today. First, the important takeaway from this live stream is that you need a lot of boats. There's something wrong with your current boat consumption ratio, and I'm concerned. I mean, I don't think I was really playing anything tonight very fast. I sped up that last song. I started off slower than I ended it, but I played Wonderful Kitty slow. That's the thing. I have spent so little time playing with a pick that it's almost never. It's a lost cause now. There's certain things you can do with a pick that I like if I were playing electric, but um, I'll never get that. I'll never get clean enough with a pick to feel satisfied using one. It's funny. How much does he choose to make sense? That is kind of what J.I. Puller's doing. No doubt about that. Isn't that nice? There's a nice needle point now in the background. Everybody enjoys some nice needle point. Ain't nothing like some needle point and shuffleboard, y'all. Ain't nothing like some needle point and shuffleboard. Ain't nothing like some needle point and shuffleboard, y'all. Those are the two greatest things in life. Needle point in the morning, shuffleboard in the afternoon, shuffleboard in the evening, needle point till midnight, back to bed, repeat. Eat, sleep, needle point, repeat. Looks like a bunch of red-faced birds, kind of orange-faced birds. That's finally a warm backdrop, yeah, it's pretty warm. It's, in that regard, it kind of reminds me of your mom's butthole. I'm just kidding. I don't know if your mom's butthole is warm or not. Maybe it's not so warm. But I'll tell you one thing that we should always, always, always remember. Okay? It's that important. We need to remember our precious memories. Whatever else we do, don't forget your precious memories. They're precious for a reason. And that reason is because they have so much value. Okay, so you're covering up the precious memories. I guess I'll cover up the cross instead. Precious memories. I wonder which of his memories are the most precious. Tennessee Ernie Ford. Which is your preciousest memory? Is it that time you banged that hooker at the Flamingo in Vegas? When you were playing Vegas? I bet that's his most precious memory. Probably. Knowing this guy. Knowing Tennessee Ernie Ford and his wild reputation. What else could it be? Nothing can only ever be one thing. Alright, here. Isn't that a nice background? Sure it is. It's a wonderful background, Eric. You did a wonderful job. Thanks, everybody. I did do a wonderful job. I sure did do a wonderful job. This almond milk is delicious. Now look at this map. Just look at this map. It's got, what has it got on it? Let's look at the things it's got on it, okay? Let's look at it a little more up close. It's got Micronesia. It's got Australia. What else has it got? New Guinea. It's got, what are those little islands down there called? Borneo, Sumatra, Malaya, Java, and look, how quaint, Ceylon. Ceylon doesn't exist anymore. It's called something else now. There's Australia, and look, here's New Zealand. This is how people, look how huge those boats are. They're bigger than all of New Zealand. Those are extremely large boats. Now this, over here, is a little something I like to call South America. As you can see, it's mostly just this one huge wagon. There's some alpacas. There's a guy on a cow. Guy on a horse and a wagon. That's basically it. That's all you get for South America. Not a whole hell of a lot going on in South America, you know. Mexico and North America. Oh my gosh, there it is, you guys. It's America. Look at the quaint Mexicans. They've got sombreros on. Oh my gosh, and look at the quaint Central American. What's he carrying on his back? Let's look. Let's see what it says. Oh my gosh, he's got some barrels of thing on his back. How fun for him. And there's the West Indies. And look, it's the Seminole Indians from Florida. And there's sombreros. Get out of California, you Mexicans. And then like, what's this? It's a guy on a horse again. Why is everybody riding so many horses and on snowshoes and shit when you've got an airplane right there, tards? Right there's an airplane. Just get on the airplane, you know? And instead, look at these guys. Row, row, row your boat. Get on the goddamn plane. God, you don't have to stay savages forever. Okay, these guys in a kayak. It's too cold to be out in a kayak, if you ask me. Like, what's this guy over here doing? Where's he going? See, the world is flat. He's going to, that's the edge of the world, I guess, right there. You see it? That guy's going to go right off the edge of the world. So that was an interesting tour of the world there for us. Right. You should club whales and hunt seals. They get it backwards. Not their fault. They're Inuits. I can show you the world. It is that thing that's right there, yeah. That is the world that I can show you, yeah, 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 yeah. What was I doing right now? Oh, right, I remember. Something very, 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 very important. You didn't even know things could get this important. But they can. And they did. So deal with it, you know? Just deal with it, as they say. And deal with it, school. What should they say? Hey, buddy, deal with it. And I go, whoa, this guy means business. And he told me to deal with it. Okay. I'll deal with it. Fine. If I have to. It's only fair if I have to deal with it that I deal with it. And that's why I'm getting this for you. Right now. This is an important picture. Because it shows you what the world would be like if we didn't strictly prevent dogs from mating with elk. It would be just like this. That's what it would be like. Volcanoes going off everywhere, dogs with antlers and lays. I think we can all agree that that's not okay. There. That's the gist of the image. Yeah, it's a band called Little Feet, but Feat. Alright. Now let's try another exciting image. What are we going to show you this time? How exciting will it be? Will your excitement meter top 10? Probably. If you're human, if you're alive, if you're not completely dead inside, then yeah. It'll easily top 10. It'll probably get to 50. Because that's how exciting this thing is. I'm showing you. Yeah, 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 yeah. Because that's how exciting this thing is. I'm showing you. Yeah, 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 yeah. There. Hello. How are you? Hope I'm not interrupting anything. Oh no, Orange Lady, you're not. I'm a ladybug. Tee-hee-hee-hee-hee. You're not a ladybug. Yes, I am. Tee-hee-hee-hee. Okay, if you say so. I don't think you're... Oh, I am a ladybug. Tee-hee-hee-hee. Okay, shut up, you. It's enough from you. This album is called Won't You Please Touch My Wiener? No, Keep Touching It by Little Feat. It's called Hoi Hoi. That's the record album right there. It's a little something that we in the recording arts industry like to call a record album. A long play record album. But let me reassure you, a long play is just the beginning. Soon we'll be moving up to extra long play, super extra long play, double, quadruple extra long play, all kinds of stuff. Alright, here's a plant for you. Everybody loves a plant. Everybody loves a plant. That's so true. Yeah, plants are great. Everybody loves plants. See that plant? See how great it is? See how you don't even know how good plants are until you come here and I show you? This is what a plant is, okay? This is a plant. Stick it in your mind so it doesn't fall out this time. Plant lovers. Alright, you plant lovers, I gotta go. I'm having problems like mia and pia. You know how that goes. Good night, sweethearts. I love you with all the tenderest of my emotions. The less tender dark meat I set aside.